Howdy folks, now where were we? So if you remember, old Snotlout has met someone bigger and more brutish than him. Let's find out how this meeting between them has gone. So, remember, his name, what was his name again? Thuggery the Meathead. He looks like a thuggery as well. So he said to Snotlout, "You shut up or I'll tear you limb from limb." That means pull all of your arms and all of your legs off. It's not very nice, is it? "And feed you to the seagulls. You winkle-hearted, seaweed-brained, limpet-eating pig." Oh dear. Right, so where do we go from? If we save all those stupid people from a real dragon like this one, no, I don't think I will. Let's go from here. Thuggery dropped Snotlout and he wiped his hands of him, disdainfully. "Anyway," said Thuggery, "my father was on that stupid council of elders too. I'm with Hiccup. What kind of father puts his stupid laws before the life of his own son? If we save all those stupid people from a real dragon like this one, then maybe they'll let us into their stupid tribe after all." Well, thought Hiccup. This is a turn up for the books. This is interesting. Maybe that dragon was right. And he is going to help me with my "it's hard to be a hero" problem. Before he eats me, of course. One solo meeting with the Green Death, and here were 19 young barbarians, most of them much bigger and much tougher and much rougher than Hiccup, all looking up at Hiccup, expectantly, waiting for him to tell them what to do. Hiccup stood on his tiptoes, and he tried to look like a hero. "Okay," said Hiccup. "I need some time to think." "Give the boys some room here," yelled Thuggery, pushing all the others back. He swept off a rock for Hiccup to sit on. "There you go, Hiccup. Hiccup. You just do all the thinking you need, boyo," said Thuggery. "This is a situation that needs a lot of thought, and I have a feeling you're the only one here who can do it. Anybody who can have a 20-minute conversation with a winged shark the size of a planet and come out alive is a better thinker than I am." Hiccup found himself warming to Thuggery the Meathead, and he started to like him. "Quiet!" yelled Thuggery. "Hiccup is thinking." Hiccup thought and thought. After half an hour, Thuggery said, "Whatever you're thinking about to get rid of that monster, it better work for both of them." "There's another dragon?" asked Hiccup. Thuggery nodded. "I went up to the highest point and I spotted him while you were having your chat with the big green one." "Ooh, okay," said Hiccup. "That's good news, actually. Let's check out the new horror." The trail up to the highest point was littered with scallop shells and dolphins' bones thrown up by a gigantic storm. Along the way, they even passed the wreck of one of Stoich's favourite ships, the Pure Adventure, lost at sea about 7 years ago, and now perched crazily on a rock 3/4 the way up the biggest hill on Berg. Must have been quite a storm. Once you arrived at the top, it was possible to see most of Berg's coastline and the sea encircling you on all sides. Right at the other end of the island, a dragon entirely filled up Unlandable Cove and spilled over the sides. He was ginormous. He was resting his vast, wicked chin on the cliff like it was a pillow. Great plumes of violet smoke were belching out of his nostrils. Out of his snoring nostrils because he was sleeping. He was another sea dragonus, Giganticus Maximus, this time a glorious deep purple in colour, and if anything, slightly even bigger than the one at Long Beach. "The Purple Death, I presume," whispered Hiccup shakily. "This is just what we need. Are you sure there aren't any more?" Thuggery laughed, slightly hysterically. "I think it's just the 2 nightmare killing machines. Is 2 not enough for you?" Back at the highest point, Hiccup outlined his plan of action. It was fiendishly clever, if a little bit desperate. We aren't big enough to fight these dragons, said Hiccup, but they can fight each other. We have to get them really angry at one another. We hooligans, we'll concentrate on the green death, and you meatheads, you go and deal with the purple death. The one thing we will need is our own dragons, who seem to have disappeared, said Hiccup, so we better start calling for them. They started calling for their dragons as loudly as they dared, and then louder, because there was no response. The 20 dragons that belonged to the novices, these boys, were not, in fact, very far away at all. They had made up after the dragon fight, and they're now hiding in a piece of boggy bracken, about 100 yards or so away from all the boys were standing on the highest point. They were crouching like giant cats, in ferns, wicked eyes gleaming. They were now so exactly the shade of a clump of bracken that they seemed to have melted entirely into the bog. If you had been a rabbit or a deer, you wouldn't even have noticed them, until you felt the talons on your back and the hot fire on your neck. They had been following the boys actually for a while. So, whispered Fireworm, her tongue flickering menacingly, what do we do now then? The power is shifting on this island. The masters, they will not be masters for much longer. They are trapped like lobsters in a pot. We are not. We can fly wherever we want. Do we obey or do we desert? Dragons are not the sort of creature to back a loser. They quickly move on to who they think is the most powerful. Whatever we do, grumbled Brightclaw, let's do it quickly. My wings are freezing up. We could kill the boys now and take them as an offering to the new master, suggested Seaslug, with a grunt of greedy pleasure. What? That green devil on the beach? Said Horrorcow placidly. I don't like the look of him myself. He has too big an appetite. We might find ourselves as the next offering. We fly then, said Brightclaw, and the others murmured in some kind of agreement. Science, hissed Fireworm. These islands are dangerous, he sneered. We might fly from one danger straight to the mouth of another. I say we obey. We obey until we are sure that they have lost. When that time comes, I will give the signal and we go. And so, as if from nowhere, Fireworm and Seaslug, Horrorcow and Killer, Brightclaw and Alligator Tiger and all the other dragons, they all flew out of their hiding place and they came circling slowly up to the highest point, landing on each boy's outstretched arm. Last of all came Toothless, complaining horribly. Dragons, said Hiccup, and he explained his fiendishly clever plan. Now that is the end of chapter 13. I hope you enjoyed.